Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting session we've got in store for you on the global trends around fintech. We're joined by a real expert in this area, Raja Al-Mazrouei, and it's just a delight to have her with us here today. Raja is a visionary and influential figure within the finance and technology sectors. Her entrepreneurial spirit and passion for progression has been the driving force behind her achievements and continue to fuel her ambition to help reinforce the UAE's position on the global stage. With over a decade of experience in the financial services sector, Raja has been able to develop an ecosystem for financial technology entrepreneurs in Dubai that has been a primary contributor in the Emirate, being named a top 10 global fintech hub. Her expertise in marketing and communications has enabled her to bring brands to life and foster communities in order to create business opportunities and societal impact. Throughout her career, Raja has held senior positions within the IT operations and marketing teams at Dubai Holding, the National Bonds Corporation, and the Dubai International Finance Centre, where she is now at the DIFC Authority. Her time working with these organisations has exposed her to cultures, systems and practices that have shaped her ethos as a leader and a pioneer in her field. Today, Raja stands at the helm of one of the region's most successful financial technology hubs and has contributed significantly towards building a vibrant and dynamic community of over 200 fintech, regtech and insurtech firms operating in the DIFC. As Executive Vice President of Fintech Hive, she brings together leading financial institutions, government entities, technology partners and entrepreneurs to realise a common goal in driving forward the UAE's national innovation agenda and shaping the future of financial services. The rapid growth of the Fintech Hive under Raja's leadership has been recognised on a global scale, with it being ranked one of the world's best financial innovation labs. In addition, she herself has been named one of the top 100 women in fintech by Innovate Finance, the 50 most influential women in Middle East finance by Dow Jones Financial News, and the top 100 power businesswomen in the Middle East by Forbes. Raja is an executive graduate of the Harvard Business School, serves as a member of the Harvard Business School MENA and Central Asia Advisory Board, and is vice president of their club for the GCC. In addition, she holds positions on the boards of Dubai Fintech Ventures and Al Masraf Arab Bank for investment and foreign trade. Well, wow, what credentials are those? But I don't want to embarrass Raja any further. I'd like to hand over to hear what she has to say to us today. But do remember, you've got your question box on the right of the screen. Do put in questions because Raja's going to leave some time for your questions. So looking forward to hearing those. But in the meantime, over to you, Raja.
Thank you, Caroline. And it is my pleasure to be with all of you here today to have a view of the global trends in fintech in times of pandemic from the lenses of the Middle East and North African regions. As we all remember, sometime in March, we were surprised that the world actually could close down. Airports were shut down. We were worried of leaving the house. And currency has suddenly become an instrument of that has been utilized by the pandemic. We all had to put on our masks and avoid contact with everything. And regardless, with all of the challenges that the pandemic has brought to all of us, it actually created multiple opportunities for tech adoption in every single country. So we look at the trends or areas of focus that has been evolving during the pandemic. And we can see that specifically within the fintech, there has been areas of fintech and non-fintech that has been evolving, including cashless, contactless payments, live streaming. E-commerce has quadrupled in all of its sales. mindfulness and health, Internet of Things, and contactless cashless payments again. These created opportunities across the region for innovation. The whole World Bank expected a contraction in the economy because of the pandemic, loss of jobs across multiple sectors. This probably, without the pandemic, would have been anticipated to happen at a much slower rate over a few years. However, with the pandemic, the economy has been contracted, jobs has been lost, opportunities have shifted from traditional institutions to creative industries. Gig economy has evolved. Talent are available to log in to serve at any job anywhere in the world. And then if we go back and look at what happened in the fintech markets specifically, we see that the valuations have came back to realization of 2017 levels when we really started to see that boom. So there was a little bit of realistic evaluations coming back. And we saw that the deals and financing of fintech deals actually came back down to 2017 levels. And I think that really created an equal opportunity for new entrants versus good technologies to make sure that investors are investing in areas that really matter. When we look at the overall fintech market, we see that there are multiple areas of focus, including the banking tech, the insurtech, reg tech, payments infrastructure, lending, and investment tech that has evolved over the time, specifically in the pandemic. If we go to banking tech, we realize that the shift towards branchless banking, contactless payment has boosted, and every institution had to provide their customers with options to bank remotely. On the insurtech level, we see a shift in focus towards insurance because not everyone had insurance at that time, including institutions who probably insured against everything but a pandemic. And then healthcare insurance has become very important, connected to Internet of Things, to look at the probability of need for these insurance solutions that are personalized based on the individual's vital signs, health conditions, and so forth. With regards to RegTech, we looked at the need of doing paperless transactions that have to continue to happen even when the world was in a lockdown. Payments infrastructure has definitely boomed because of all the options that were needed to conduct all of these transactions. And lending, small businesses specifically needed financing, and regardless with all the investment that has been put in by central banks and governments to support the economy, the need to lending was there, and certain platforms enabled the peer-to-peer lending and SME financing. Investment tech obviously has been a very popular option because during crisis there are multiple options of investments, and the only way to access these if you don't have a personal wealth manager or so forth is really through fintech solutions. So we've looked at, scanned the market and identified the top areas of fintech to look at as the region. And I hope you can see the screen because I think of my bad internet connection, I can't really see properly. And then based on this, we started looking for companies that would solve these problems. At the Fintech Hive, we work at accelerating fintech startups that meet the requirements of the financial institutions in the region over the years. So every year we run a program, and in this program we identify the top priority areas for the institutions of the region, and we scout for startups from all over the world to find out the best solutions that would address these issues. As you can see, the focus areas have evolved over the years, moving from advisory and what's back in 2017 to open banking APIs, AML, and data analytics in 2020. Collectively, over these years, we have accelerated more than 100 fintech startups that came from all over the world to Dubai to work with the leading regional financial institutions on enabling them to access the technology that is necessary to transform their businesses. Can we move to the next slide, please? So when we look at the fintech moving forward, what is the agenda and what can we do? We look at embracing fintech in challenging times. We know that digital transformation and technology disruption is here to stay. So the financial institutions, whether they like it or not, have to get on board and adopt as fast as possible the technology that is shaping the future of finance today. Also, the opportunity is huge for fintech startups to look at additional areas to collaborate with these financial institutions to bring all of these technologies to life. Challenges and obstacles in the fintech sector region. One of the biggest challenges that we realize is access to funding with regards to fintech startups, especially at the seed stage of development. At this stage, the technology is really and trying to gain traction, and access to investors is quite hard. And this is what we try to bridge through the Fintech Hive, is enabling access to all these fintech startups to the investors community. The other challenge is the lack of regulations that enable B2C fintech innovations. We have seen a lot of progressive regulations in the region that enable fintech startups to roll out their solutions, mainly to collaborate with financial institutions, because the financial institutions has most of the compliance and regulatory requirements to offer these services to the clients. But if the fintechs or these technologies are aimed directly for the consumers, it would be a bit of a challenge because the regulation is lagging in this regard. A big challenge for the financial institutions is really building a tech enabling the online access to their services. Journey that is today being shaped by the millennials and accessibility in the region. So it's really building a ground-up innovation and delivering that to consumers to keep them engaged. The role of DIFC in driving the future of fintech has been expanding over the last 4 years. We started with acceleration programs that has been doing really well in terms of accelerating the fintech startups. There are many regulatory licenses that has been introduced to support the fintech growth. DIFC launched a 100 million fintech fund that is available, focused on scaling their businesses from the region. In addition, working spaces and innovative commercial licenses to set up these companies in the DIFC and to plug into a wider network of financial services focused community. Can we go to the next slide? I think that's my presentation, and I am happy to take any questions from the audience right now.
So do bring your questions in. We've got a great one to start us off here. It is, if you were to comment on one area which shows the most potential for fintech development or advancement for corporates, what would that be?
So the The priority area for me would be focused on trade finance. As we embark on a digital world, a borderless world that is enabled by the technology today, trade finance will be a big focus area that will be beneficial to many players at the same time. And it is where lots of transactions are actually happening, and that's an area that needs this process. So, trade finance solve a major gap in the market that is really a priority for us.
Very good, and that will be relevant, very relevant to many of our audience today. So thanks for that, Raja. Also, you've got those hundreds of fintechs buzzing around in the hive, so to speak, like little bees. I love the imagery. What's the kind of culture? Is it a really exciting place to be? Does it just get people really thinking creatively, and how do they then bring that creativity perhaps into the outside world, where you have some of these large institutions that we know don't move quite as agilely?
So the ecosystem for the fintech industry was to really create sort of space, and you can see that we are very bold in our branding in a way that really try to break that corporate identity and be closer to the innovation that we would like to achieve. At the beginning, we were working with 4 financial institutions in our first cohort, and we had a good mix between local and the global. We were working with Visa, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, and Emirates NBD Bank. And at the beginning, as we were talking about the fintech and the opportunity of innovation in financial services, institutions were not listening closely because they thought it's a trend, a very long time to happen. We will struggle to get regulation and take them to market. But every year, the success stories that came out from the programs actually engaged further audience. So overall, we've engaged in more than 65 proof of concepts with these financial institutions, and we're able to launch 25 products in the UAE market today. And the more we talk about it and the more we share about the success of these startups, the more engagement and curiosity we receive from the financial institutions. Like any of the audience, if they're in Dubai, to please pass the opportunity to see the environment that we operate. It's a collaborative space, and we always have someone from our community in that space, whether it's the financial institutions, the regulator, the VCs, the funds, the law firms that are all working collectively to support the development of the industry.
Well, that's great to hear. It's very exciting. Somebody here has asked the question, the payment landscape is changing for the region and globally. How are fintechs playing their roles in this?
So for probably, I would say 3 reasons. Digital adoption or access to mobile global. So having access to this device enables you to do so many things. Payment is important to you. The second thing is the consumer behavior, and the consumer behavior that is today driven by the millennials or Gen Z is really shaping the engagement. The third thing, I think, which has been accelerated by the pandemic is the lockdown, access to all of these services, and even the regulators or the central banks that would not regulate these payments technologies had to. adapt to the situation and enable these businesses to survive. And that's how we've had the payments regulation out in the UAE and in many other countries that are around the region. So the realization that this is a necessity rather than an accessory is evident more than ever. And as we've shifted from traditional transactions to digital, you won't see consumers going back to traditional services. I got used to doing my um, grocery online. I will not go back to normal grocery shop.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it has really, really accelerated that whole payments piece, as you say, and it's fascinating. People really were entrenched in their views. They did say this is impossible, we can't do this, and now it's all changed within a matter of months. So it's absolutely incredible, really. You touched on a couple of times in your responses regulation, and you talked about things just developing. And the question I have here from someone is around what's the advancement of fintech in the region. They're asking any particular regulation, policy, incentive that they should look out for.
So the regulators in the UAE are collectively working on enabling a wider range of regulations across different jurisdictions. So we have the UAE Central Bank, the DIFC with its regulator, the DFSA, and Abu Dhabi Global Markets, who has the RegLab, and trying to look at how can we enable more regulations in the market. So we have regulations related to payments, to lending, to robo-advisory. Actually, the central bank and SCA just launched the digital tokens regulation for the UAE market, which I think opens a huge opportunity where a lot of solutions were developed for tokenization, and today the regulation will enable them. So there's a wide range from lending to payments, and I am more than happy to share access to a list of all of the regulations to the audience. The point I want to make is through the Fintech Hive, we handhold the startups even in the regulation. We have the regulator as part of our ecosystem. And if there is an innovative technology and we believe it has the opportunity to grow in the market and to serve the consumers, we take those tech firms to the regulators and on developing and enabling these regulations. We have seen companies go through from zero to regulated in a short period of time because we were able to justify the case, the value, and the impact on a larger scale to the regulators who are willing more than ever to support the industry.
Well, that sounds really very, very, very helpful and a very good approach. And I'm sure it would be great for our audience if they did have access to that list as well. So hopefully they can follow up afterwards and we can get something accessible to them. Now, lots of questions flooding in. So somebody here would like to know your view on open banking and APIs.
That's very relevant because I have been fighting for open banking and API since 2017, and the financial institutions still believe that we are, we still have time before this is actually implemented by the regulator. However, we see a lot of these institutions are preparing their infrastructure for open banking. We've had some fintech startups come to the Hive with API integration solutions. And we have been able to assist them to get the regulatory licenses and to test the technology with these banks. The banks know that they need to do it, whether through an API or developing their own open banking. They're progressing with this agenda, and as soon as the regulation is activated in the UAE, I believe that our financial institutions would be ready with it.
Very good. Well, that's great to hear, and well done for being so tenacious and persevering. Another question here. How will corporates, do you think, benefit from the collaboration between banks and fintech?
So as the DIFC is the leading financial center in the region, we needed to make sure that our partners or the companies that operate in the DIFC are aware of all the technology transformation opportunities that are coming through this tech innovation. And that was the main reason behind setting up the accelerator at the DIFC, bringing the government, the financial institutions and the private sector together in a collaboration that looks at positioning the fintech industry at the forefront of the region. And we have received major support from the community because they realize the value. They understand the importance. And if we didn't do this in 2017, the financial institutions would have found it really difficult to search, scout for startups, and figure out ways to do experiments or proof of concepts with them. So the accelerator really brings in the value of managing that relationship, getting the best of tech in the financial services sector directly in front of these financial institutions and enable them to access the process from a very easy and collaborative approach. Um, the regulator as well as part of this journey, and they get exposure to all of the different type of technologies that are developing in the fintech spaces specifically, so that they are also proactive and focused in terms of identifying the top regulations that they need to position. And also, since we serve the Middle East and North Africa regions, every year we actually do a global research at what's happening on the fintech front in different regions, including Europe, the US, Africa, and Asia, and understand why it matters to these regions and what's the opportunity for our region given all of these dynamics. And when we identify these opportunity areas that I shared in the beginning with everyone, this is the view of the industry, because I work with 20 financial institutions to identify what really matters for the sector and work with them towards bridging that gap. So it gives a holistic view of the whole piece.
Absolutely. And you mentioned collaboration. I think we've got just a couple of minutes left, so just a couple more quick things. You mentioned collaboration. I think, when I think back a few years, people, when they heard fintech, they were thinking, oh gosh, it's a little bit of a threat there in a number of ways. And now we talk much more about working together. But also people fear for jobs because they think, well, the machines are going to take over our jobs. Somebody here has asked about, what would be your one message for fintech in the region to thrive in the post-COVID-19 world, and will we see more global cooperation? So I'd like to just ask a kind of combined question. Yeah, what will we see? Will we see more global cooperation? And how does the human side fit into it? Will there still be jobs for people?
I think, Caroline, with the pandemic itself, there has been an upskill automatic, because in one day we all had to switch to digital, we all had to use these platforms, and that fear of technology has already gone. Everyone is well aware of the opportunity that the technology is bringing. And between the financial institutions and the startups, they are both aware that collaboration is the fastest way to market, because the financial institutions can be developing complex solutions without taking into consideration the real problem that the fintechs, the small startups, are actually addressing one by one. So the collaboration opportunity brings the best of two worlds to the market, and in the same time provides an opportunity to upskill the talent in the financial services sector.
Very good. Now, a final question. I'm going to take it because I'm curious to know. What, Raja, do you love most about your job?
I'm very passionate about my job, and I am grateful to get the opportunity to be in this role, because I can connect the opportunities between the institutions and the startups. And for me, I see the impact directly on these startups when they raise funding, when they create more jobs, when they include more talent in their roles. And I'm very passionate about the role women play in fintech. And I'll just take one more minute of your time to talk about Accelerate Her, which is a female talent accelerator program that we've launched as part of the Fintech Hive to enable women from the financial services sector to tap into technology and innovation and hopefully make career moves in that direction, or maybe get exposed on how to set up their own tech startups, because technology is available for everyone today and the opportunity is unlimited.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Raja Mazrouei, for joining us here today. It's been a delight to speak with you. Our audience, thank you for joining us. Do fill out the feedback survey and do that for all the sessions that you're attending. Do put things on social media, of course, and do go to the discussion forum to chat about some of the things that you've heard. Unfortunately, there were a few moments where the internet connection wasn't so stable, and we might have missed a few of Raja's words. But I know that she's very happy. She said earlier, if people want to find out more from her, she's always happy to oblige. And certainly, I love following her on LinkedIn and hearing all the exciting stuff that she's up to. So do have a look at that. But in the meantime, just once again, a little bit of virtual applause for you, Raja. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for having me, and excuse my bad internet connection today.
No problem.